Ooh, whatto chaps, I'm Magical Mike, and it's that time again where I review the previous year on my channel. Give or take a couple of months, you know, because these are supposed to come out before the new year, but hey, at least it's not as late as the 2015 one, right? So last year's plan was to do more Iron Mans, more quids in reviews, try some edited playthrough style things, find some things to make guides out of, and to kick off the RPG series. I think I can tick off all of those in one way or another, apart from one, though some more substantially than others. The Quids In series didn't get much of a look in this year, with only one review coming out. That was the Batman Arkham Asylum video. It was a fun video, they always are, but they also always take a lot of effort to make. I like to make sure that the game is something I consider specially good for whatever reason, and this normally won't happen until I'm a good way into a game. And with Batman, this was my second playthrough. I did it on hard because I was missing one achievement for actually beating it on hard, but it served as a good way to get all the footage that I wanted anyway. If I do realise that a game deserves a proper quids in halfway through, it's often hard to go back and get footage of earlier spoiler-free stuff without starting over, and I'd rather not sacrifice my own enjoyment just for that purpose. So anyway, while I've played a few things here and there that I think would fit into this series, I've yet to get around to them again with that in mind. So I came up with a solution. Recently in is an easygoing middle ground between live commentary, edited video, carefully thought out review style stuff, and pure first impressions. Think of it like a sister series to the Quids In series, for every game that I want to talk about in that similar way, but for when I don't want to put in a ton of time into creating a complex video. And that might come across as lazy to you guys, and yeah, admittedly it is a bit, but I do bother to actually write a script for them and make sure I'm not just ad-libbing a bunch of gibberish. The footage is just 100 times faster to put together, and quite honestly I could fairly easily repurpose them into proper reviews anyway, but I wouldn't feel right doing it. I want to share gameplay and opinions on games with you guys because it's fun in the first place, so I tried that with Torchlight 2, Need for Speed Shift, and Guild Wars 2 in 2017. Torchlight was because I'd been watching so much Path of Exile and remembered that I'd never finished that game. Need for Speed Shift was because I was unhappy with the footage I'd mixed together in the Quids In review, and Guild Wars 2 because I'd recently done a massive 180 on my opinions on the game and started playing it a lot again. I wasn't expecting to be putting out a load of Guild Wars 2 content again after Heart of Thorns burned me, but as I said in that aforementioned video, I hadn't checked out the HOT 2.0 patch and probably should have done. They really did turn that expansion around and made it a lot more enjoyable, which got me to finishing everything up. I do stand by my decision to not want to make regular reviews of the Living World patches though. I just don't think that they stand up to much as a story, and it's quite hard to judge the maps themselves. For example, I hated Bitterfrost Frontier at first, but when I realised the value of Winterberries, I had a bit of a change of heart, so I'm glad I didn't put a video out there just, you know, dumping all over it. The Path of Fire announcement brought the newer Elite specs to the game, and they interested me quite a lot more than the originals did. We also got to try them out for free, which was a change from the last time, so I figured I'd get to grips with them a reasonable amount and put out short "what is X and what does it do" kind of videos. While incredibly simple videos in the end, you'd be surprised just how much time went into making sure I knew what the hell I was talking about. The footage is always of me just trying out various builds against the PvP NPCs, making sure I show you the specializations I'm using, use no runes, no sigils, and show you the amulet and everything I happen to notice of interest going on with the build as I play through. What took ages was learning the classes enough to be confident in how they worked. Some were easier and therefore faster than others. Spellbreaker, for example, was quick because I play warrior, but spotting nuances of how the traits and how the new F2 worked together was a bit of a time sink. Lots of things like that add up, and I gave each class about 2 to 3 hours over the 4-day weekend, totaling up to anywhere between 18 to 27 hours over those few days. Yeah, now suddenly it doesn't look so lazy, does it? But at least the scripts practically wrote themselves thanks to my notes, so you know, I saved some time, at least. I do still get a good laugh out of all the upset comments on the Mirage video telling me how awful the class was and how wrong I was when I said I'm sure it'll be good when we work it out. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah, what's top PvE DPS in raids? Hugely effective PvP presence? Oh, who knew? There was plenty of content I could have made whilst playing the expansion as well, but frankly I was busy enjoying it and I didn't want to distract from that. However, the Griffin Master video was a one-off because I was trying desperately to get #1 in the world at the time, and could only manage #2, sad boys, and I'm sure that my times were consistent too. Still have no idea how to do better than I was doing, but apparently people have done. Who knows? Groundling was just a quick joke I came up with in Discord, but figured it would be easy enough to make. A quick kind of meme video, I guess you could call it. Harpies shouting that battle cry seemed funny to me when flying past them on a griffin, but it did get annoying to hear it so many times, so I satirised my reaction to it. Easy. Mountskins.avi, I think the less said about mount skins RNG stuff, the better at this point. Though the dialogue I highlight at the end there does seem to be ANET's modus operandi these days. A good reason for so many things that I disagree with at that company. Then there was the biggie, the Noon Evening News Machinima. A monumental effort went into that video, not just from myself, but from my friends and community members as well. I would love to talk about it here, but I've actually written a hugely detailed behind the scenes on it already, so I'll save repeating myself and hopefully we can just look forward to that when I do get round to it. Finally, random videos that I can't really slot into a specific category. 2017's April Fools was an entirely backwards fight against two Dark Souls 3 bosses, Aldrich and Yorm the Giant. The footage originally was scrapped from the 2016 Iron Man that had died before that point, but I still wanted to use that footage of me throwing lightning spears at a giant somehow. So I ended up with this odd monstrosity fully committed to being entirely backwards. I could have just commentated a load of rubbish on that too, since it's incomprehensible, but there is actually a legitimate commentary track on it. I wonder if anybody will ever bother to reverse that. There was an attempt at playing with the GTA 5 Rockstar editor with the Arthur's Pass Rally video. Definitely a really super cool tool to mess around with, giving this level of freedom for recording and editing footage in-game that I've never seen before ever in a video game, but it just left me wanting fewer limitations on the tool. One that I hit a lot was the maximum camera range, which is so frustrating for capturing wide shots of fast-moving objects. Still, it was fun to make the rally stage, it was fun to capture a smooth run after many attempts, fun to edit that together, and overall, I think it was worth the time. And last of all, I did kick off the RPG series like I'd wanted to in last year's review. Choice and Consequence While of RPGs is the first and currently only video in the playlist. My problem of how to tackle that series is pretty much sorted, but I haven't got around to working on it more since. Well, aside from ideas and some basic structure, we'll have to wait some more on what comes next there, although I do have some plans for it. And you know, there's also the assortment of unlisted stuff too that goes up on the channel that most of you guys will never see because I just want to show it to certain specific people. There's some raid videos from Guild Wars 2 from some progression that we were doing. There's some Rocksmith progression which is far too embarrassing to put out publicly. Also there's copyright issues there, so that's no fun. And various other doodads and whatnot. As for 2018, what's the plan then? I hear nobody asking. Well, as usual, I don't really plan specifics so that I can't be held to them. It's a very cowardly tactic, really. Avoid disappointment that way. But to quickly rattle a shortlist off, I promised a POF review ages ago and will try to get that done sooner rather than later. I'm just not really playing Guild Wars 2 as much at the moment, and it's more of a motivation thing at the moment. I guess that does actually tell you a little bit about the expansion in and of itself, but I'll get more into that eventually. I suppose if we want a really quick short review, the content was phenomenally good. Like, really enjoyable, loved it, well worth the expansion. And for various reasons that are obviously important to get into, but I don't want to right now because this isn't the time or the place. However, there wasn't much of it. I was done with it fairly quickly, but overall a much better experience of the Heart of Thorns. So, you know, let's just save that for a proper video, a proper dedicated video. The behind the scenes videos should hopefully appear too for the machinima videos that I've done. and yes, that does include the Doomgineer that I promised way back at the end of 2015, so there's at least 2 of those to produce. I may be slow, but I do get there in the end. Recently in shall continue. I already have something ready-ish to go at the moment. Quids in is still at the forefront of my mind when it comes to videos, and I don't intend on abandoning the format, but I do need the inspiration. I have 1 game currently in mind for now, maybe 2, but we'll see about that. Iron Man made no appearances in 2017, which needs changing. Something is already done about that, so here's hoping to having more ideas for that series too. Guides and edited one-off things, like the Fallout exploration videos, these are never really planned or promised, but always fun to make, so I'll be on the lookout for excuses to put out those sorts of videos as well. Just no promises. And of course the RPG series. I have better plans for this moving forwards, and lots of games taking up my hard drive space, along with lots and lots of footage that I've just been collecting over time. That in and of itself should motivate me to getting a move on, shouldn't it? Still gonna keep that a bit vague for now though. And there we go, 2017 summed up in a boring list with irrelevant background footage. Done. Any feedback? Any ideas that you guys want to share? Requests even? Complaints? Anything? Leave it in the comments and I'll always be reading them. And here's to a decent 2018. Cheers guys.